Brilliant. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the decision session of the Exec Member for Culture, Leisure and Communities. We're here in person in the Thornton Room at West Offices. It's Tuesday, the 6th of September, and we have, I guess, one substantive item on the agenda today. So the first item is declarations of interest, and having looked at the agenda today, beyond my register of interest, I don't have any interests to declare. So item 2 are the minutes. To approve and sign the minutes of the decision session held on the 7th of June 2022. I remember it well, it was my birthday, so I remember that meeting particularly well. Do you want me to approve and sign them physically now?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much. So happy to approve those minutes from the 7th of June. Item 3 is public participation. This is one of the portfolios of the council that doesn't often get registered speakers, so I'm delighted today that we've got 3 registered speakers today, and we'll first be hearing from, who do you want us to take first? In fact, shall we, Councillor Fitzpatrick, are you happy to go first? Yes, yeah, of course, yeah. And so, welcome to the meeting, and you'll be very familiar. So yeah, ready when you are.
Thank you, Chair. I'm here to speak about the plans for a multi-use games area for Heworth Without and a process for Section 106 allocations that is deeply flawed. I speak as a Guildhall Ward councillor representing the area in which Hungate is located and which to date has seen no Section 106 money for open space or sports and recreation, resulting from already completed developments. Residents would understandably question, why is that? As a Guildhall councillor, I'm well aware of limitations on space in the city centre, but that does not mean that there aren't opportunities and options for Section 106 investment in the ward. We are currently pursuing investment in a tired and rundown play area in Navigation Road, with some reluctance through ward funding, in the absence of any Section 106 money having materialised from Hungate. This shouldn't be necessary. I question the whole process where a developer knows they have a contribution to make, and this council finds ways to allocate the money miles away from the developments and away from the people who stand to be most impacted by it. Why is that? Why isn't the council having an early dialogue around Section 106 to ensure its priority is to benefit residents in the vicinity first? How does the council think this looks to city centre residents? How do you, as executive member, think it looks for your administration? The whole principle of Section 106 involves obligations being directly related to the development. I don't think the provision of a mugger over 2 miles away can be considered as directly related at all. I want to ask you to really reflect on the channeling of money that should be benefiting Guildhall residents to areas further out of the city centre. I have no issue with Heworth Without Ward having a mugger if that's what residents there want, but at the expense of investment in the ward in which Hungate sits is unacceptable. I call on you as executive member to consider what you can do to ensure the residents that are most impacted by Hungate can point to something locally that benefits the community. We have spoken to various council officers and there is no certainty as to when Guildhall will see its rightful contribution from Hungate. When the obligations on the developer have been changed at least 9 times, it feels as though too many opportunities have been missed by this council to get this right. Navigation Road families have for too long had to put up with poor play equipment, and if combined with Section 106 funding in this area, could create a really inspiring place for children to play and develop for years to come. I believe in approving this decision, you will be once again proving your commitment, as with earlier play area investment, only towards where there is political benefit to be had for your own party. That's the very opposite of leadership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fitzpatrick. And your comments will be taken into account when we get to the decision. Speaking next, Councillor Ron Clayton from Heworth Without Parish Council. Good morning. It's already switched on, so
Thank you for letting me speak. You surely have heard about this meeting before Friday, the very last day on which one can petition. We heard he might even been able to hear a case. Anyhow,
Yeah, feel free to take a seat.
I'm the chair of the Heworth Without Parish Council, and we have long resisted Nigel's long dream to impose a Muga on the Stray Road playing area, of which we have a lease that's due to fall in February of next year, when both sides will have to consider their options. There are 3 Muga-sized AstroTurf playing areas and 3 full-sized football pitches within 300 yards of the Stray Road playing area, just round the corner off Bad Bargain Lane, a few feet across the border between the parish and the ward proper. The playing area is mainly used by children of primary school age and their parents playing about. Children transitioning between the playground, which is right next to the playing area, and secondary school, where they begin to play sport seriously. So this is an important betwixt and between phase, which we are very happy to be catering for, and which parents are delighted that we do. It also, this phase, takes place on real grass. We have a grand green sward mowed by our groundsman. We've just bought him a new sit-on mower. And most of the councillors in the Heworth Without Council are very green. And so the prospect of all this real grass being smothered under artificial turf is deeply obnoxious to them on ecological and environmental grounds. In the course of the last 4 or 5 years, we've conducted 2 surveys of parish opinion about the content, layout, and future of the playing field. A relatively small, often a pitifully small response rate. Unless people feel they're really involved, they are reluctant to bother to vote, as you as councillors must surely know. Anyhow, in both of these surveys, a Muga has figured as an option. In neither of those surveys has it attracted significant support, scarcely any support. Instead, there has been virtual unanimity and warm unanimity in support for what we already have and what the council declares in these surveys it intends to do. And we've already begun to do much of what we've promised. We've already added, and it's very popular, a group of gym machines in one corner of the playing area. Our projected detailed plans for a basketball practice area to one side of the playing field have been widely publicized and widely applauded. We have in view a pair of movable goal mouths in order to protect patches of worn grass and to move the playing area within the playing area around. And new councillors have begun to propose new sports Petanque, for example, we have a very high ratio of elderly and pensioned citizens in the parish, and also mini golf has just been proposed. So we would intend to put those out in our next survey. And our next survey, perhaps it is time, and I note your paper talks of consultation, perhaps it is time to have another survey of parish opinion. We are certainly very keen to have one, to lay out what we are doing and intending to do, and set it, as it were, against a case that can be made for a Muga. And we're very happy to do that ourselves, or to associate ourselves with Nigel and put out a joint appeal for this time a really good response, so that we can see what the public opinion in the parish is and take it, as I hope, from there.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time this morning and those words. The next and final public speaker is Councillor Douglas, who I understand is joining remotely. Good morning, Councillor Douglas.
Good morning, Chair, and thanks for the opportunity to speak. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, clearing. Yeah. Thank you.
And before I start, I'd just like to say that I thoroughly concur with the comments made by both councillors, and it's the feedback that I have had both from city centre and surrounding residents, and also in Heworth Without and other parish councillors that I've spoken to there. So I'm here to speak about the proposal and the use of Section 106 monies and the system the council is currently operating. I've spent a number of weeks trying to get to the bottom of the system. I haven't been able to. A page doesn't begin to describe it. It's bad enough for elected members to not be able to track what's going on and how public money is being allocated. But what about the public? If you live in Hungate, near Hungate, or anywhere within Guildhall Ward, for that matter, what public benefit do you see for the various apartment blocks that have gone up there, especially when it comes to sports, recreation, and open space? The public expect, as anyone with any understanding of Section 106 and national planning guidance would expect, to see Section 106 money being spent in the vicinity of a development, especially one on the scale of Hungate. But no, what they will observe is money being allocated miles away from where they live, which must feel like a real slap in the face. There are real issues around openness and transparency here. Some officers say councillors could give their input on Section 106. Some say they cannot. Some say the individual detail of Section 106 agreements can be discussed at planning committees. Some say they cannot. What we see in this case is the more unusual example of specifics in a 2019 planning committee report and a proposal to install a mugger in a ward that the council says has an almost 11-hectare surplus of outdoor sports space. That will also have Hungate residents scratching their heads, quite possibly even Heworth Without residents doing the same. It also highlights the value of the council's evidence base on open space, showing that surplus is disregarded by council officers and ruling councillors. It beggars belief. Section 106 is about mitigating the impact of development to make it acceptable. How can the council and you as executive member maintain any credibility by using that money if we're being bluntly honest, nowhere near the development, not even being spent in wards neighbouring the ward affected that do have a deficit of outdoor sports provision? I understand the Section 106 online tracker Labour called for years ago is imminent. This sorry saga highlights exactly why this is needed, so the opaqueness and lack of transparency can be brought to an end. Mitigating development through the use of Section 106 should be what it says and not be a political bum fight and pitting one ward against another. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Douglas, for your comments this morning, and thank you all to all public speakers, and that the comments will be taken into account when we get on to the next agenda item, which is Agenda item 4, the Heworth without multi-use games area, and the report for this item is found on pages 3 to 18. I believe I might be handing over straight to Paul to introduce this item.
Thank you. Okay, so I present to you today a paper regarding the Heworth without multi-use games area. And what we're asking for your support for today is to go out to public consultation on where the multi-use games area should be sited. After that, to be able to apply for planning permission, and then following that, to be able to appoint a contractor to undertake the works. And this is to secure the spend of the Section 106 contribution from the Hungate development for the purposes of a multi-use games area in the Heworth without ward, and to help meet the demand for increased sports facilities for children and young people in the area. So a little bit of the background. In April of 2019, at the planning committee, 3 options were put forward. One of those options was for a multi-use games area in the Heworth without ward. Another one was for Burnholme Sports Centre and changing facilities in the Heworth ward, and another one for the Hull Road Park buildings in the Hull Road ward of the city. The new facility that we're looking to put within the Heworth without ward and to install that within the same ward. We hope or we want the multi-use games area to be free to access for children and young people, so there will be no payment, open access to be used as and when available. The options that we're putting forward are to build a multi-use games area on the existing grass football pitch in the Stray Road play area, to build a similar facility on the existing Hempland field, or to look for another suitable location within the Heworth without ward that's in line with the present Section 106 agreement. The paper asks for permission to undertake consultation regarding the options listed above, and we've had conversation with colleagues at the parish council and with other local ward councillors as well. Presently, from the Hungate development, we've had a financial contribution of £69,000 for outdoor open space. We've already spent 25,000 of that on changing facilities as part of the Burnholme Sports Centre redevelopment a couple of years ago, which leaves a balance at present of £44,000. The final cost of the projects will depend on which option is chosen, where it will go, and ultimately what it will be. And we have commitment from the Heworth without ward for any shortfall or available budget at the time to go towards the instatement of the facility. Depending on the options chosen, ongoing maintenance, will fall to a number of different parties. If it went into the Stray Road play area, then potentially it would fall to the parish council. If it went onto the Hempland field site as a local authority site at present, that would fall to ourselves. And if a different site was selected, then we would have to look at how they were managed in the future. We've looked at a draft equality impact assessment report, and this is very draft at present because we don't have ultimately what it's going to be. But we've looked at what the impact could be to those protected groups. One of the things that has come up is whenever you look to instate something new, then obviously taking everybody into account. So if we had a hard stand type area put in, that would be better for disabled access than potentially a grass uneven pitch that we have at present on both the 2 sites that we've mentioned. and obviously getting people onto those sites is something that we would need to consider, but something that was flat, would be better, but not all disabilities are of a physical nature. Throughout the project, we hope that we will take into account all of the ecological impacts on the programme and to maximise the local benefits of the scheme to the surrounding community. In terms of legal, any changes to the Section 106, if that was required, would need to be formally done through a deed of variation. And it's important to say at this point that if that was the case, then it may or may not be granted. So we may be in exactly the same position as we are now, or it may turn out that we can't actually get the spend, where we would, where the consultation suggests that it should go. The land comprising the grass football pitch in the Stray Road play area is owned by the council and is presently leased to the Heworth Parish Council on a 21-year lease from the 1st of February 21. So that means that the lease has just expired of February of this year, and that the parish are currently holding over pending completion of a new lease. The land at Hempland Field is owned by the council, and there are no restrictions, we believe, on that title and can be used potentially for the suggested multi-use games area. There are no HR, IT, crime and disorder implications arising from this report.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you for that thorough introduction there, and thank you again to our public speakers. Just picking up on a few items, in particular from Councillor Fitzpatrick and Councillor Douglas. I guess I'm not completely blind to the point you're making, and think if I was in your shoes, I'd probably be sat there making similar points. I think looking at the paper in front of us and looking back to past decisions, noting that planning committee meeting where this was initially agreed and signed off on. I can, again, whilst with sympathy with some of the comments that have been made, I'm not, inclined as a councillor here to go back on what was agreed then, especially given that quite a lot of those monies have already been spent and been utilised as agreed back then. And I do know, looking back to 2019, I wasn't around, wasn't on planning, wasn't a councillor, but on the committee were a councillor from Heworth Ward and a councillor from Guildhall Ward. And separately, another Guildhall Ward councillor spoke at that meeting. And separately, on the comments around Section 106, as a councillor, again, agree with some of the problems around 106, particularly for public understanding, awareness, and that just the efficacy of that as a system. And I think we've already talked about, as a council and a local authority, how we're moving to community infrastructure levy, and that might be, not necessarily a silver bullet, but a far more transparent and better for those local communities to see direct benefits from developments, including smaller developments rather than just very large housing elements. Moving on to Councillor Clayton's comments, thank you again for speaking, and thank you for taking the time to work with officers in advance of this paper coming today. I think some of your comments, and without it turning into death by public consultation, can definitely be explored in the consultation that Paul's just outlined, and obviously welcome the parish council, all parish councillors' comments and feedback as part of that, before it then goes to officers to make the final decision. So hopefully that covers some of the public speakers' questions. I know this has been running on for a considerable time, and not inclined to slow it down any further than is necessary in terms of people seeing benefit from this location. And also in terms of some of the speakers around Heworth and Guildhall, I know the gasworks development has outlined £185,000 in Section 106 monies, and so hopefully that might be another opportunity where investment can be made in such facilities more locally. With that, having obviously chewed over this paper multiple times over recent weeks, I don't have any comments for Paul or officers concerning its details, and having obviously the options in terms of what will be in the consultation are outlined in paragraph 6, and the recommendation on page 3, paragraph 2, regarding starting the public consultation, applying for planning permission on the preferred site as necessary, and then appointing a contractor. With the outlined reason there, I'm happy to approve that recommendation outlined at paragraph 2, and wish, I guess, the local communities, parish council, ward councillor, all the best in making sure that the option that comes forward is the most suitable and to the greatest benefit of that community. If there's no other, I think that probably covers off item 4. Item 5 is any other business. I've not notified anyone of any urgent business, and I'm certainly not going to surprise Pauline this morning by tabling any. And so that just leaves me to thank all the officers that make this meeting possible this morning, our 3 public speakers for taking time out of their morning to speak this morning. And with that, wish everyone good rest of their Tuesday.